Our message for all ages is about a very famous poet called E. Cummings. He wrote some really wonderful, very clever, very inventive things, and his work was more than 100 years ago now. So this is his story, Enormous Smallness. Inside an enormous city in a house on a very small street, there once lived a poet I would like you to meet. Here is his window at 4 Patchen Place in New York City. This is E. Cummings. Peek inside and you will see the room where E. writes his poetry. While sitting at his typewriter, E. listens to the birds singing outside his window. May my heart always be open to little birds who are the secrets of living. Whatever they sing is better than to know. And if men should not hear them, men are old. In the room below his studio, a woman rings an elephant with a bell in its belly. Time for tea. She is Marion Morehouse, a fashion model and photographer and the love of E.'s life. But how did he become a poet, and why is he called E.? Well, that stands for Edward Estlin Cummings. He was born on October 14th, 1894. His parents were Edward and Rebecca, and they lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts. They all lived in a lively house at 104 Irving Street with, this is a lot of people, his mother and father, 2 grandmas, 2 aunts, 1 rambunctious Uncle George, his younger sister Elizabeth, the handyman, Sandy Hardy, an Irish maid named Mary, a dog, a cat, a goldfish, and some rabbits. That is a busy house. As Estlin grew, he drew many pictures from the great circus of his imagination. But even more than drawing elephants, trees, and birds, Estlin loved words. What words say and how they sound and look. He loved the way they hum, buzz, pop, and swish. Estlin also liked to invent new words, like this one, whash-ho zephyr. And he squished others together like this, bean ham egg. I always forget where you have to point that thing. Watch out where you point that thing. When Estlin was 11, his favorite teacher, Miss Maria Baldwin, noticed his wonderful way with words and encouraged him. From her, Estlin learned that anything is possible so long as you are true to yourself and never give up, even when the world seems to say, stop. One day, Estlin read these words by his favorite poet, John Keats. I am certain of nothing but the holiness of the heart's affections and the truth of the imagination. Suddenly, deep within him, a mysterious bird began to sing. Estlin knew it would take courage to follow his heart, but he was determined to live the life he imagined. There we go. E. liked to break the rules of rhythm and rhyme and to make words dance across the page in surprising ways. He wanted his readers' eyes to be on tiptoes, too, seating and reading poetry in a way that was new. Some people criticized him for painting with words, and others said his poems were too strange, too small, and some said they were no good at all. See if you can figure out this poem on the page here. Let's try it together. The sky was candy, luminous, edible, spry pinks, shy lemons, cool greens, chocolates, under a locomotive spouting violets. Really makes you stop and think, huh? But no matter what the world was giving or taking, E.E. went right on dreaming and making. For inside he knew his poems were new and true. Love is a place, and through this place of love move with brightness of peace all places. Yes is a world, and in this world of yes live skillfully curled all worlds. O round moon, how do you, rounder than round, float, holy and rounder than goldenly roundest? His poems were his way of saying yes. Yes to the heart and the roundness of the moon, to birds, elephants, trees, and everything he loved. And yes to spring, too, which always brought him back to childhood, when the first sign of his favorite season was the whistling arrival of the balloon man. Full disclosure here, this is not my favorite of his poems, but it is the one that appears in every children's anthology for the last 100 years, probably. If you haven't read anything else by E.E. Cummings, you have probably seen this one. In just spring, when the world is mud-luscious, the little lame balloon man whistles far and wee, and Eddie and Bill come running from marbles and piracies, and it's spring, when the world is puddle wonderful. The queer old balloon man whistles far and wee, and Betty and Isabel come dancing from hopscotch and jump rope, and it's spring, and the goat-footed balloon man whistles far and wee. I do love that word, puddle wonderful, when the world is puddle wonderful. As an old man, Edward Estlin Cummings often remembered his childhood days in the lively house on Irving Street. He could still see himself as a boy gazing out at the sunset, and like the little bird singing outside his window, E.E. sang, and his song was his poem. Who are you, little I, 5 or 6 years old, peering from some high window at the gold of November sunset and feeling that if day has to become night, this is a beautiful way.